What do you need to be a police officer?
Well, good morning. My name's Rich Misbeck. I'm a security officer, safety officer at Lincoln Middle School. And as far as what you need to do to be a police officer, well, you have to be 21 years of age or older. You have to have a minimum of a high school diploma or a GED. Then from there, what you do is you apply with the police department, and they'll set up some testing dates. And when they set up the testing date, they do physical fitness testing, where you have to run 1.5 miles in a certain time. You have to be able to bench press a percentage of your weight, leg press a percentage of your weight, and after you do that, you take a written exam, which is broken down into 4 sections, and you have to score 80% or above on that written exam. Once you pass those 2 phases of it, they give you what's called a personal integrity questionnaire. It's about 170, 180 questions long. And it asks you about your life, everything you've done. If you've ever been in trouble, where you went to school, all kinds of questions. You answer that out. And then the police department that you apply with, they'll review it. Once they select you, they'll set you up for what's called an oral board, where you go in, you wear a suit and tie because you're interviewing for a job. And anytime you want to interview for a job, you always dress for the job. You dress appropriately. And there'll be 3 people in there, and they ask you a whole bunch of questions about it. How do you handle conflict management? How do you handle stressful situations? What have you done to prepare yourself to be a police officer? And if you pass the oral board, then they start your background investigation. When they do your background investigation, they look at pretty much everything from the time you were a juvenile all the way up to the point where you are currently in your life. They look at your work history, they look and see if you've ever been charged with traffic citations, criminal history, anything like that. Once you make it through that point, then you get selected by the chief and you go to the police academy, which is 26 weeks long now. And when you're in the police academy, you learn things like defensive driving, defensive tactics, how to shoot, you learn the law block, legal block, you learn how to deal with people in crisis, domestic violence, all those things. Once you graduate the police academy, then you work with another officer for another 16 weeks on the road. You drive with that officer and you learn the aspects of the job. So there's a lot of training involved, and even once you get beyond the field training officer phase, you're on probation for a year, and then you still do training throughout the course of your career, 20, 25-year career. So there's quite a bit involved with becoming a police officer. At any point of any one of those phases, you can be dismissed from the process. If you're dismissed from the process, you have to wait a year, and then you can go back through the process again. It's a great feeling once you make it through the process and you get your certificate and you become a certified police officer in the state of New Mexico.
So our second question is, what similarities from being a security guard officer for Lincoln Middle School to being a police officer?
Well, there's a lot of similarities because being a police officer, every day is different. You respond to a lot of different types of calls for service. You might be going over to help somebody that's fallen down in their house, all the way to somebody that's been a victim of a violent crime, or you're looking for somebody that was a suspect in a violent crime. The similarities are is that as a police officer as well as a security officer, you're concerned about the safety of the public, where here I'm concerned about the safety of the school. You know, the staff, the students, teachers, what's going on outside the school. As a police officer, you're enforcing laws. As a security officer, you're enforcing the district policies as well as the school policies. You know, you're responding to possible fights on campus, kids that might bring illegal paraphernalia onto campus. You're also responsible for safety drills, fire drills, which a lot of what, as a police officer, if there was a fire, you know, and they needed police assistance, we would respond to those things, shut down roadways and stuff like that. Investigate crimes in the school, just like I did as a police officer. And then mediate, you know. Students that have problems in the school, try to sit down and talk to them, and mediate and work it out, come to a resolution. And you did a lot of that as a police officer as well. So the similarities really parallel one another.
Our last question is, what is your daily routine at Lincoln Middle School?
Well, my daily routine is I come in the morning, turn on the computer, turn on the camera system, get everything up and running. I have to fill out what's called daily observation reports. So whatever I do in the school is a security log. You log it down here, and then on the back of the security log, they have certain things here like, did you do parking lot checks, locker room checks? Did you have to do administrative assist? Did you respond to any fights? Then traffic control and covering lunch duties, all the way to checking hall passes and doing welfare checks and checking on people. Once I get the log going and get the camera system up and running, I go meet with Ms. Shepman and Ms. Sanders, see if there's any concerns from the previous day or what's going on in the current day, and pretty much prepare for the day. Once I come back into my office, if you guys like to walk with me, we'll go outside and I'll show you what I do out there for the remaining day.
Is the door open? Oh.
What I do is I come around, I make sure that this gate is locked, that nothing's been tampered with in there, and you can see it is. Then I check where the teacher parking area is, make sure that there's nobody back here that shouldn't be back here. You guys can see somebody drove up there in the third area. And every I don't know if you guys know this, but every teacher, every staff member that works here, they all have assigned parking spots. So you pretty much learn whose vehicle is who and who parks there. Then we have the portable building out here. And so what I do is I come down, I walk around the building, make sure that none of the glass, nobody broke or damaged anything. Nobody might have broken into this overnight. Check the building really good. Make sure the doors are locked. Come out here a couple of times and found the door open. And then what I'll have to do is go in there and make sure nobody got in there overnight and took anything, or nobody's sleeping in there overnight. So the doors are all locked up. Then I'll go down there where the student drop-off gates are and open up the gates, and I direct the parents in the morning so they can bring all the students up and drop them off here. And I usually stay out there for about a half an hour, and then once that's closed, I come back up here and I keep walking around the school, checking everything. Make sure all these doors are locked. You've got your electrical room there, you've got your boiler room, and then you got your mechanical room, so you want to make sure nobody got in there and tampered with anything. Then I'll come around, and where everybody gathers in the morning out here on the patio, I'll walk around there because sometimes students leave their backpacks and their duffel bags out there. So when I walk out here, I make sure that there's nothing out here, because you don't want somebody walking onto the property and walking off with a student's backpack. So I do a look over, make sure nothing's been left out here in the morning. If it is, I just pick it up and bring it up to the front office so that the students can go up there and get it. And then the reason we keep that gate closed down there is because during school hours, if you don't have a visitor's pass, you're not allowed on school grounds. So that's why we keep that down there. So if I come out during the day, I see people out on the football field, the track, or the baseball field, I have to ask them to leave and tell them they can come back at 3:30 when school is over. So right now everything looks good. Nothing left out here. Pretty clean. Usually you come out in the morning, you find backpacks, jackets, stuff like that. Check the windows on the building. And then what I'll do is I'll come around this side of the school and check the portables. Make sure there's no students outside the school that shouldn't be out here. Everybody should be in their classrooms inside the building. Here's the bell room. So I'll go check all the portables.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do.
Make sure nobody's hanging around out here.
Thanks.
And then I go into the building again. Once I'm inside the building, I check students, make sure they have passes when they're walking through the hallway. And I'll come down here and I start checking all the restrooms and the locker rooms. And you make sure nobody's in here. And I come in. You guys are good. And then what I do is make sure there's no graffiti on the walls. Make sure the doors aren't damaged. Check for graffiti. Everything's good. Make sure that the day starts out right. If there was any graffiti, it got cleaned up from the janitors the night before. And I'll walk around this way.
Economics, very good.
When I do this, I'm always looking in the hall, see what's going on. Is there any hazards for kids? See, like this pencil here, you know. You'll get kicked out onto the floor eventually during the course of the day, and it's really easy for somebody to step on it and, you know, fall down. So I'll pick these up, take them with me, get them off the floor, so nobody trips on them. And something else I do is I make sure that all the windows you can see into the classrooms, because you can't have any windows on the classroom that's covered up with, you know, artwork and paper and stuff like that. And that's pretty much for the fire department and the police department. Should something be going on inside the classroom, you'll be able to look right into that classroom, make sure everything's all right. All right, let me check this bathroom first, make sure nobody's in here. Hang on a second. Okay, you're good. So I'll come in and I'll check every stall. Make sure there's nothing written on the doors in the back or on the walls. All good. And then I usually do this a couple of times during the day. Make the rounds and check things out. Then I go back down this way. Make sure the doors are closed. They close properly after the bell rings. That all these doors are always open in case we have a fire drill, and they'll close automatically. Then I check the boys' locker room. That door's always locked from the outside. Come down here, make sure that people have lockers, they're using the lockers. There's nothing left in here that shouldn't be. Do a quick walk around. Check the showers, make sure nobody's trying to ditch class and hide. And then the last restroom I checked in the morning is the 8th grade restroom. Make sure nobody's in here. All right, you guys are good. And what you want to look at, you want to make sure that this vent is up, it hasn't been pulled down. You check in here. When you check the stalls, you want to check inside the toilet paper things. Make sure there's nothing hiding or stashed up in it. So you always look up in there. Make sure there's no weapons in any of those. E-cigarettes, those sort of things. And then I come back out. And then from here, I'll go back to my office and start catching up on my work that I have to do. If there's any reports I have to write, any videotape I have to look at, stuff like that. Make sure there's no graffiti on the walls. You just want a good, clean, safe school for all the students and staff here. So that's what I do, is walk around, check things. If I see something, I'll, like if somebody did something to a wall, graffitied it, I'll let them come out, I'll take pictures of the graffiti, I'll write a report on it, and I'll let Mr. Torres know so that he can clean it up. And document it, and then we try to look at patterns. Like earlier in the year, we had some students in the 6th grade restroom that were doing graffiti on the walls, and we were able to figure it out and solve patterns. And we were able to figure out who it was and who did what. And we were able to talk to that student, bring him in, and get him to stop. And then I come back in the office. And then from here, I'll go over and I'll check my emails. See if there's anything on here that I need to do for the day, if my boss sent me any emails or anything like that. That's pretty much the routine. So I usually work on stuff that I have to get done, and then right around 11 o'clock I start covering all the lunch periods. 6th grade lunch, 7th grade lunch, and 8th grade lunch. So it makes for a really fast day, and every day is different, and that's why I enjoy it. It's a good job working with all you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Letting us do this.
Yes, of course. Anytime.